Let there be light.
The thought slams into my mind as foul air rushes up my nose and into my lungs. I rear back and cough as a tornado is unleashed in my mind. Memories swirl around me as I try to make sense of my surroundings.
Think.
The words of my mentor echo in my head.
I've been laid out on my more times than I can count. Everyone will get their bell rung sooner or later in this line of work. If you're lucky enough to wake up, being able to outthink or at least surprise your opponents is the only thing you have in your favor. But that doesn't mean waking up swinging. When you wake up with no idea where the you are, focus on what you do know.
Taking a deep breath, I close my eyes and listen. There's a chorus of snickering not far from me, accompanied by a couple of hearty slaps on the back. The voices are familiar, and as I place them, I focus on my hands next. My fingers grasp the rough padded floor. The chemical taste in my mouth reminds me of breathing in too much chlorine at an indoor pool.
Open up your eyes, son.
The voice is comforting but unfamiliar. I flinch as I realize how quickly I obeyed a stranger before the light fills my vision. I rear back from the firm but gentle hands cupping the side of my face. I remember the man's impressive mustache earlier when we lined up around the mats and... Mats? Shit! It all comes rushing back. Sparring! The instructor chose me as the first opponent. Creed Carter had raised his hand as soon as I stepped in. Funny, I don't remember Instructor Briers asking for volunteers, but then Creed is his favorite. I have more training in hand-to-hand combat than most of the recruits, but apparently not as much as Creed. Glancing past the medic, I see the bigger trainee smirking at me. The other security recruits give him not-so-covert high fives as Instructor Briers pretends not to notice.
Well?
Briers asks in his no-nonsense tone as always.
No signs of a concussion.
The medic's knees pop as he stands up and rubs his back.
Nothing a handful of aspirin and some bed rest won't fix. Give him the former if you got any handy. His match isn't over.
The medic spins on his heel.
He's a sponsored cadet. Technically, you're not allowed to make that call without his mentor.
Briers meets his glare with a much more menacing one.
I'm in charge of their training. You think they'll pull their punches outside the academy?
I try not to sigh in front of the senior staff. Not this shit again. Ever since I joined the Foundation, it's been one pissing contest after the other. Directors clash with researchers, investigators argue with security, and the never-ending tug-of-war between the Overseer Council and the Ethics Committee. Every faction in the Foundation has different ideas on how to run it. No side has a clear majority over the other, making for a political war of constantly shifting alliances and betrayals. Things were simpler in the society. The chain of command is rigid and clear. But simpler isn't always better. The founding families had too much sway, and members of servant families, like my own, followed their orders without question. The Foundation has more shades of gray than the society, and that's better than seeing everything as black and white.
I'm fine, sir.
I climb back to my feet, showing the medic I can do so without stumbling.
Just got the wind knocked out of me for a second. I'm going to knock a lot more than that out of you.
Creed's latest bout of wit prompts another chorus of chuckles from the other would-be security grunts circling him. The techs and researcher cadets keep their distance to avoid being dragged in. I can't count on the future investigators. Most of them want my blood as much as Creed after he let my former allegiance with the society slip. I still don't know how he figured that out. None of that's ideal, but the one I really have to worry about is Instructor Briers. Briers is a reverse giant from South Africa. Barely 5 feet tall, he compensated for his short stature by hitting the gym until he ended up nearly as wide as he is tall. His remaining hair clings to the sides of his face, but I bet it was a crew cut before time caught up with his scalp. And, of course, he's the one in charge of the sparring matches. Normally, that means stopping Creed from growing too far. But judging from the open hostility on Briers' face, I doubt he'll call off the match for anything less than a broken neck.
What are you waiting for, cadet? Get back in the ring!
I take my time walking back into the ring. Creed is exchanging pleasantries with the rest of his flock, thinking I'm a lightweight. He's not wrong, at least not when compared to him. When it comes to fighting, if both opponents are evenly matched, then the advantage goes to the bigger guy. Creed is definitely bigger than me, and my head is still ringing from his last blow. My jaw is lined with 4 perfect indentures of his knuckles. When it comes to physicality, he's got me beat in pretty much every area imaginable. But a fight is more than the physical components. Even though my mentor isn't famous for his brawling, I remember his words after our first field exercise.
Gus, your problem is how you think. All your life, you were brought up to think a certain way, follow orders first, and ask questions second, if at all. You need to flip your priorities. Always ask questions, if not to the people around you, then to yourself. Making blanket assumptions is a quick way to get yourself killed.
Or a quick way to get my ass handed to me. My confidence is as much to blame for Creed's victory as his skill. Since I could walk, I've been learning how to fight. Laying down my life for the families we served became as much a reflex as blinking. I saw Creed and dismissed him as a muscle-headed former jock, not someone who could stand toe-to-toe against my lifetime of training. Lesson learned. I won't make the same mistake twice.
You're going down, society bitch!
I don't bother replying. Not when I'll need every ounce of air to see me through this fight. Creed barrels toward me, his fist raised high. I ignore my instincts to take the brunt of the blow and duck low and fast instead. Stepping into Creed's attack, I quickly punch his ribs, then roll away on the mat, coming up behind him. I get in a defensive stance and turn back to Creed. He's stumbling and rubbing his ribs, but other than that, my attack didn't do much.
This isn't karate, kid.
Briar steps closer to the mats but keeps his distance.
Your old society pals aren't going to give you a point for landing a punch, Cadet Huff. Get in there and finish him off. I'm good over here.
The quip flies from my lips without thinking. Research cadets stifle their laughter while the security grunts stare at me in open wonder. Part of me chafes at the idea of mouthing off to a superior, but there's also a stab of excitement and joy as Briar's skin reddens. It's evident to everyone here that Briars wants to see Creed wipe the floor with me. I can't trust him to be impartial with his combat advice. My mentor would be proud. Not only am I thinking outside the box, but I'm becoming a wise ass, just like him. Creed seizes the initiative while I'm busy giving myself a mental pat on the back. Despite his large size, he is surprisingly fast. I manage to deflect one of his barrage of punches off my left shoulder and slide past him. His knee flashes, and I raise my leg on reflex to block. My leg picks up a couple extra pounds of painful weight, the bruise already forming. I break away and dance back, distancing myself from Creed. He's breathing heavier now. Good. If I can't outpunch him, I can outlast him, wear down his endurance until I get an opening. But I'm tired too, and my injuries will definitely slow me down. Creed charges again, and I rush forward to meet him. My movement catches him off guard almost as much as my punch. His nose cracks but doesn't break. The blood running down his nostrils makes him take a cautious step back. Now! With a burst of speed, I race behind Creed and make sure my uninjured knee is to the back of his. After that, all it takes is a hard shove to his chest. Gravity and momentum do the heavy lifting for me, knocking Creed onto the mat head first. Yes! I wipe my mouth with my wrist and let my body relax. I did it! I managed to take down the big son of a bitch! My breath comes out in heavy and uneven bursts. I fight the smile from forming on my face. As I lock eyes with Briar's glare, I realize my mistake. He hasn't called the match. Creed bellows from the ground as he climbs to his feet. There's no time to counter or block, and I don't have enough energy to dodge. Creed wraps me up in his arms and squeezes me to his chest. The air gushes out my lungs as Creed's grip tightens, my bones aching and popping. I thrash, searching for an opening, but Creed tightens his grip. The air is heavy with the stench of his sweat as Creed lifts me off the ground. I don't know what he's planning on doing to me, but it gives me just enough leverage to do something. Thrusting my leg forward, Creed and I both scream as my sore knee collides with his crotch. Thank God he didn't wear his cup today. Creed leans back, and I press my weight into him, helping him fall again. The impact is almost as painful as Creed's embrace, but he uncuffs his arms from around me. I slip off him and spend the next minute catching my breath. As he starts to lurch off the ground, I drop my elbow into his crotch once more.
That's enough, Huff.
Briars yanks me to my feet and shakes me.
That was an illegal move. Illegal move?
A familiar voice speaks off to the side. My head is still spinning, but I make out 3 figures heading to the mat. Slowly, the world stops spinning enough for me to recognize them. The one at the center is my mentor, Cody Hale. True to form, he's dressed in his usual attire of beat-up jeans and an old t-shirt sporting some punk rock band I've never heard of. Cody has told me before that he dresses a certain way because he wants people to underestimate him, all while quoting something called Columbo in an impression I didn't recognize. The man beside him isn't a man at all, depending on who you ask. SCP-160 prefers to go by Kane. Technically, he's a Foundation asset who has helped Cody on several assignments. His mechanical arms, legs, and the glaring symbol engraved into his forehead are the least impressive things about him. Kane is toying with a bag of beef jerky, examining a piece before handing it over to the lone woman in the group. Minnie Booth is a knockout who can knock out anyone. Those are Cody's words, but as lame as they are accurate. From how she stands, it's obvious Minnie is former military. As Briars steps away from me, Minnie relaxes, then hands the piece of jerky to the small mutt in her arms.
Agent Hale, Agent Booth.
Briars straightens his posture, trying to establish dominance gain.
You don't have authorization to... Specialist Kane.
Briars stiffens at Cody's rebuke.
Excuse me? Kane has been designated the rank of Specialist by Director Ramirez. He's not an agent, but he's still part of the Foundation. It's rude to address us and not him.
Briar's knuckles pop as his large hands close into a fist. It makes me wonder how the Society would react if they knew one of their most hated enemies is even better at annoying the Foundation than they are.
Director Ramirez also gave me strict orders to... Are we really going to do this, Briars?
Cody rubs his eyes.
Go back and forth and pretend like you're doing your duty, when really you're just swinging your dick around, trying to douse the rest of us in your pissing contest?
Minnie cringes.
I think you're mixing your metaphors. I believe it's intentional.
Kane raises another piece of jerky to his eyes. He rotates it, examining each angle before returning it to the bag.
Doesn't make it any less gross. Fine.
Cody sighs and holds his hands up.
Have it your way, Instructor Briars. Agents Booth, Specialist Kane, and I are requesting permission for Cadets Huff, Carter, and Noak to accompany us for specialized training. On whose authority?
Briars stiffens in a way that says he already knows he's lost, but wants to go down fighting.
You've got Ramirez's number, right? Call her if you want.
Cody walks to the mat and offers me his hand.
As for you 3, follow us. We're going on a field trip.
Cadet Novak is one of the research cadets in our class. She's a young woman with curly brown hair and thick glasses. I never paid her much attention before. Most of the cadets want me dead, but she seems content to mind her own business, and I return the favor. She steps away from the back of the class, hidden behind some burlier recruits.
Right.
Cody nods after we step out into the hallway, away from the other recruits.
The Foundation, unlike most old dogs, is trying to learn a few new tricks. Specifically, we're hoping to supplement the training you undergo at the Academy with field exercises. Kane, if you'd be so kind.
Kane reaches into a messenger bag strung across his baggy sweatshirt and pulls out 3 devices. Novak's hands twitch when she nears Kane, but her apprehension vanishes as she takes his offering. Creed steps up next, squaring his shoulders as if daring Kane to try anything. He doesn't, and moves on to me without so much as another glance at Creed and hands me a smartphone. Knowing the Foundation wouldn't give us anything so basic, I look to Cody for an explanation, but he's fiddling with a pack of gum while Minnie sets Book on the ground. The dog has put on a few pounds since I last saw him, looking more like a pig in a dog costume. He waddles over to me, his tongue lolling as he happily pants. Smiling, I kneel and pat the dog behind the ears, until his stubby hind legs start to thump. Growing up in the society, I was never allowed to have pets or anything else that might jeopardize my loyalty to the founding families.
Right.
Cody manages to free a brown square from the pack.
This is the latest doohickey the Foundation's mad scientists have cooked up. Only you or a direct superior will be able to unlock it. We're calling them SC phones.
Minnie smiles.
That is precisely not what they're called. Not my fault R&D sucks at branding.
He pops the tiny square in his mouth, his jaw grinding as a look of distaste forms on his face.
Anyway, it's got a lot of technology that shouldn't exist, incorporated into its mainframe. You'll find all kinds of bells and whistles to keep you entertained, but you can do that on the plane. For now, just read the dossier and get up to speed before we lift off.
I follow directions and place my thumb on the single button at the bottom of the phone. The screen stares blankly at me for several seconds before flashing to life. The Foundation's logo flashes across the screen before a welcome message is addressed specifically to me. I'm not even allowed to see what else it has to offer as the mission prompt fills the screen. Given a dossier is a comfort. Many of the heirs and the society families take their roles very seriously. They undergo rigorous training and countless hours of discipline to ensure the success of every mission. Unfortunately, that can't be said for the younger siblings not destined to take a seat of power. It often fell on servants like me to memorize the particulars of a mission to ensure that our wards came back alive. I failed in that regard on my last assignment, which would have marked me for death had I returned to my society handlers. Although, based on the treatment at the hands of Briars and Creed, I'm not sure if that can't also be said about most of the Foundation. But I can worry about that later. As my eyes scan over the debriefing, I see that it's not complete. Some of the information has been redacted, including the name of our destination. From the pictures, it looks like a small town you'd find anywhere in America, the perfect hiding place for anomalies in the wild. Going through the reports, I find dozens of flyers of missing pets.
Seriously?
Creed whines, being a faster reader than I gave him credit for.
What are we, animal control? You're not an animal person, are you, Cadet Carter?
Cody grins and glances down at his leg.
Guess I should have figured.
I follow his gaze and find Book. He sniffs around Carter's feet and then lifts a leg. Book may be tiny, but he pisses like a Saint Bernard. Noak's button nose scrunches as she steps back, the smell of ammonia rising. Carter finally looks down, his face darkening with rage.
Fucking mutt!
Creed's foot is bigger than Book, and he rears it back, ready to kick the tiny dog. Both Minnie and I rush forward, but Cody is closer. The pudgy man charges into the much larger cadet, ramming his forearm into Creed's chest and pinning him to the wall. Creed raises his fists, but they freeze in midair when Cody presses an automatic pistol to his forehead. The air around us thickens with silence.
What?
Creed's gulp is deafening. I don't like Creed, but I can't help but feel somewhat sorry. Cody's expression is almost as threatening as his gun. The fact that he can still speak despite the circumstances is either a point toward his bravery or stupidity.
You going to shoot me? Over a dog?
No. Cody's voice has unrecognizable harsh notes that would make Briars cower.
The gun is just to get your attention. You make a move toward my dog, or any animal on this op, and I'll end you. Literally. I'll wipe out any evidence you ever existed, Cadet Carter, starting with your memories. Then I'll hand you over to the ghouls in lab coats. Cody.
It's the first time I've heard Minnie sound scared.
You.
Creed swallows and tries again.
My mother. Cadet Carter.
Cody cuts him off.
You've got two choices. One is shut up and nod. I already told you the other one.
I don't realize there's a lump in my throat until I swallow. The Society knows the identities of a handful of agents in the Foundation. Cody's public work as a journalist in the past, along with some moles in the Foundation, led us to identify him. In the time I've known him, he's been professional but also humorous and almost carefree. It's always been hard for me to connect him to the stories whispered around the Society's campfires. but I believe them now. This is the Society's boogeyman behind the destruction of the USS Miller, with nearly 3 dozen Society fatalities to his name. I won't ever forget it. And neither will Creed. He clamps his jaw shut and nods. Cody shoves him once more, then holsters the gun behind his back. A grin spreads across his face, and he's back to a regular geek pushing 40. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Come on, kids. Daylight's burning.
The Foundation's plane might have been immune to electronic interference from our SC phones, but they still had a strict anti-smoking policy, or, in Cody's case, an anti-vape policy. I guess he's not used to the new form of delivery for his addiction, moving it back and forth in his mouth like a camel getting ready to spit. It's a jarring sight. This is the same guy who held Creed at gunpoint a few hours ago. We finally land and take a blacked-out SUV to our final destination. I look around at our surroundings. Like the photos on my phone, the park we're in looks like one you could find anywhere. Rolling grass fields are framed by a track for running and jogging. I thought the place would be deserted due to all the missing animals, but it's the opposite. Everywhere you look are people with their pets on a leash. The park is congested with them. I guess dogs need to stretch their legs twice as much as humans. Most of the disappearances have also happened at homes during early morning or late night. People must have figured there is strength in numbers. As we step past the signs designating the park's area for dogs, I see Cody looking at me with a familiar expression. It's his mentor face, the one he puts on when he won't drop a subject until I give him an answer. I sigh, still not used to this much attention from a superior.
I guess it's Creed. He reminds me of the man I was assigned to serve. That makes sense. The Foundation focuses more on accomplishment and merit than pedigree like the Society. However, a few families have been in it since the beginning. Most parents I've worked with at the Foundation don't want their kids to follow in their footsteps. Based on his name alone, I think Creed's family is the opposite. That, or they're really into shitty music from the early 2000s.
I frown.
Isn't that what you listen to? Pump your brakes, Junior.
He trails off and stares across the park at an elderly woman. She's walking a dog about the same size as Book, but with a clear pedigree, unlike the dog waiting back at our hotel.
I listen to the soundtrack of teenage angst and longing circa 1995 to 2006. Don't compare my music to something that sounds like Maroon 5 and Nickelback had a baby.
Normally, I would point out that's precisely what Cody's music sounds like to me. But he's very protective of his music, and his altercation with Creed is still fresh in my mind. Cody zigs and zags through the park, smiling at the dogs that sniff his shoes before being whisked away by their owners.
Maybe that's it then. Creed reminds me too much of the founding families. You're overthinking, Gus.
It's the first time Cody's ever said that to me.
You don't like Creed because he's an asshole. I'm not talking about like. I've had to work with people I don't like before, more often than not. It's just, if the Foundation recruits people like Creed.
Cody thinks but doesn't slow his pace. I realize that we're still tailing the old woman.
Is that what's bothering you? You're afraid you left the bad guys, only to join up with more bad guys.
I hesitate.
More or less, I guess. I ever tell you about the guy who recruited me into the Foundation?
I shake my head, and Cody continues.
John Griffith. Son of a bitch drugged me, then stuck me in a bunker with a corridor that makes you visualize your worst fears. After that, he gave me the distinct impression that if I wanted to leave the Foundation, I'd do it with a bullet to the brain. That seems unnecessary with their ability to wipe people's memories.
Cody chuckles.
Yeah, I figured that out later too. But I didn't know back then. I think it was his way of keeping me around long enough until I saw things his way. And do you? I'm not sure.
He shrugs his shoulders.
Director Griffith was a pessimist, but I think that was because of necessity. The Foundation isn't a glass half full kind of job, but when it came time to save a kid's life, he had my back. Broke an overseer's jaw to make it happen, He spent most of his life in the Foundation, but he gave all that up, his career and his memories, because even at his worst, he believed there were some lines we should never cross.
I mull Cody's words over, trying to figure out the lesson he's trying to teach me.
Well, I'm not sure we can count on Creed to jump in and save a kid like you and your boss did.
Cody stops walking so abruptly that I collide into his back. The expression on his face is one I've never seen before.
We didn't save him, Gus. I missed something that day. I was as wrong about the anomaly as I was about Director Griffith. That's why sometimes you need as many eyes on the job as possible. I don't like Creed, and Book sure as hell doesn't, which means he's probably a bastard of the highest caliber. But Minnie sees potential in him, both as a security agent and as a decent person. She wouldn't be mentoring him otherwise, and I trust her. Maybe with her mentoring him.
The mood is broken by a sudden shrill scream. Cody unholsters his gun and takes off down the path. I kick into gear and run alongside him. It doesn't take us long to catch up to the elderly lady, screaming and pointing into the sky. Her leash is empty, and I look in the direction she's pointing. There's a shadow in the sky, like a looming bird of prey, flying away fast. Barking echoes in the sky, growing faint as the shadow lifts higher into the clear blue sky.
Everybody duck!
Cody yells at the top of his lungs. He aims his gun and fires off several quick shots, making the park erupt into screams. The shadow lurches in the sky, leaving a trail of smoke in its wake. A machine? It slows as it heads towards some nearby woodland, losing altitude but still too far away to see what it is.
Buttons!
The old woman stumbles into us, clutching her chest.
Please, save Buttons.
Cody's worse off than she is. Sweat is soaked through his clothes, and he's gasping for breath. But he puts his hand on the woman's shoulder. People scream around us while dogs bark, adding to the chaos, while parents scoop up their kids and run toward the parking lot. Cody ignores all this and looks the woman in the eye.
We will do our best, ma'am. Gus!
He takes a deep, shuddering breath.
Call for backup! Tell Minnie and Kane!
I step into him and twist his wrist. Cody grunts, and his grip slackens, allowing me to take the gun from him.
You're 3 jumping jacks from a heart attack. There's no way you're catching up to that thing. Let me go after it, and you call for backup.
Cody looks like he's about to argue, but a rattling cough makes him swear and grab his phone.
Just don't do anything stupid. Probably should have paired me with a different mentor then.
I think I see the faintest glimpse of a smile before I run toward the forest. The trees form a natural canopy, blocking out the high mid-afternoon sun, and the suspected anomaly already has a head start. Luckily, I don't need a clear line of sight to chase it. I just follow the smell of smoke. After several minutes of running through the forest, the stench grows stronger. Smoke mingles with burned oil and fried electronics. A loud crash lets me know I'm in the right spot, as does the hurried barks. I follow the path of light caused by the machine crashing through the treetops. In the halo of light rests what looks like a miniature airplane, supported by 4 wings, each with propellers that whir to a quiet stop. A drone? I raise my gun and head through the clearing. There's another bark, and I see the dog pinned beneath a machine.
Just a second, Buttons. I'm coming.
I step through the clearing and frown. Could it all be this simple? Just some guy with a drone and too much free time? And, assumingly, a grudge against pets? It doesn't sound possible. But surely not every Foundation investigation ends with a new addition to the archives. The dog is wedged under the metal, digging frantically with its paws to escape. It looks relatively unharmed. Wishing I had a holster or an extra set of hands, I shove Cody's gun into my pocket. The drone is even heavier than it looks, but after several attempts of grunting and moaning, I managed to hoist the drone several inches off the ground. The yippy dog barks at me, then runs through the forest in the direction I came from. I guess Buttons knows his way home.
You're well?
A searing pain rips through my hand, and I jump back on instinct. The lone mechanical eye at the front of the drone flashes blue, then billows smoke, causing me to cough and drop it. It catches itself and hovers a few inches off the ground, tilted to one side. A slot below the eye that looks like a mouth has opened. Inside is a jagged spike coated with my blood. The drone zooms toward me in a wobbly, drunken trajectory, giving me enough time to draw the gun. I squeeze the trigger until the magazine clicks empty. Parts of metal rip away from the machine in a spray of sparks before it crashes to the ground again, the blue light extinguished. Heat flares up my hand, and I stagger back to lean against a nearby tree. My hand feels like it's been injected with molten steel. My fingers are hot, heavy, and useless. Hopefully, backup will be here soon. My eyes start to clear from the gunfire, but there's still an annoying humming sound. I tense as it grows louder and look up. Familiar blue lights twinkle above me. The mechanical hum grows louder as more lights join the others already assembled. The drone wasn't alone. Forcing myself to my feet, I drop the empty pistol. They outnumber me, and I don't have anything to defend myself. I turn to flee but falter at the sight of more blue eyes. The forest is filled with noise and light no matter where I turn. I'm surrounded. The old woman clings to me, gasping for breath. I'm not in much better shape than her. I quit smoking last year, supplementing the nasty habit with nicotine-flavored vapor or rock-hard gum. Hopefully, it's enough to stop the heart attack or cancer that's been barreling toward me most of my life. But time will tell. Quitting smoking doesn't undo the years of damage, nor does it magically put anyone in shape. I might have lost some weight, but I'm still nobody's definition of fit. The old woman, stricken with panic and love for her kidnapped dog, had run across the field despite her advanced years. She looks like a gentle breeze will knock her over, but then, covered in sweat and panting, I know I'm not looking any better. She screams something in my ear as her nails dig into my shirt, but I can't make it out. Not with all the other shouts and barking engulfing the dog park.
Don't worry, ma'am.
I suck in a deep breath and hear her sharp nails.
My partner is on it, and help is on the way.
Partner. That's not the right word. But I chose to put the woman's mind at ease. Gus isn't my equal. He's my responsibility. And I let him rush off into a forest with my gun because I needed a minute to catch my breath. Guilt and shame gang up on my conscience. Before Gus left, I told him about my greatest failure as a Foundation agent, the day I screwed up, and a father and son paid the ultimate price. I see the way the kid looks at me. The idiot thinks I'm one of the good guys, and I like to think so too, most days. But good guys don't last long at the Foundation. And didn't I point a gun at a dumb kid a few hours ago? A few hours. Shit. It's remarkable how fast things can go south.
Cody!
I've never been so happy to hear Minnie's voice, even though I'm surprised to see her running toward me. Creed is close behind her. Their presence throws more chaos in the mix, but that probably has more to do with the automatic shotgun strapped to her back and the Uzi in Creed's hands. Kane and his mentee, a young woman named Olivia Noak, bring up the rear. Everyone's accounted for, except Gus.
How did you get here so fast?
I take a breath, grateful that it settles in my lungs instead of continuing to do the respiratory equivalent of a Gatling gun. Minnie frowns.
You said you needed help. Are you psychic? Because you're not allowed to get hotter. The SC phone!
It's the first time I've heard Noak speak. Her voice a frantic, excited burst that I wouldn't have expected from the shy girl on the plane.
It sent out an automatic distress signal when it heard you and Cadet Huff were in trouble. It also pinged us with your coordinates and supplied the last 5 minutes of video from both phones. It's a remarkable device.
I suppress my annoyance, but can't stop the grumbling under my breath. Sure, those are all great features for field agents, but I can't help but wonder if the phone's rescue is a side effect, and the Foundation's primary goal is to use the phones as a surveillance device. I can worry about the ramifications of the potential violations of personal liberties after we rescue Gus.
So, you guys know Gus ran ahead. He's alone in the woods with an unknown anomaly. Minnie, please tell me you have another gun.
Of course. She smiles and unholsters a Beretta from her back, then hands it to me. A woman has to come prepared. I packed the right accessory for any occasion.
God, I love you.
She flinches as I take the pistol from her. I realize it's the first time I've ever said those 3 words to her, and that she hasn't said it back. One more thing I'll have to put off until later. Gus couldn't have picked a creepier forest to go missing in. The trees are ancient, twisted, and gnarled with age. They surround us, their thick blanket of leaves blocking out the sky, plunging us into shadows. Thankfully, the SC phones come with a light several times brighter than any I've ever used. I glance at the screen, looking for Gus's icon. I'm amazed the heavy use isn't draining the phone's battery. A barrage of gunshots from deep within the forest make Noak yelp. Kane remains as passive as usual, while Minnie and Creed ready their weapons and look around for the source of the noise.
Gus!
I yell, hoping he's close, but I know from the phone he's not.
Agent Hale!
Noak says and points through a thicket of trees.
This would be a shortcut.
Unlike the trainees, my phone gave me unrestricted access to the town's history. That's how I know there was a petition 50 years ago when the public park was first proposed to the city council. The surrounding woodland was the site of a local battle during the Civil War. For generations, it has been spared being torn down for development, preserved by locals trying to hold on to a piece of history. I steady my resolve and look toward Kane.
Take the lead.
Kane nods and slips out of the heavy boots adorning his feet.
I'll do my utmost to mitigate the damage. As a precautionary measure, however, everyone should keep their distance. Like I need to be told, freak show.
Creed mutters, but not quietly enough for me not to hear. Any guilt I had about putting a gun to his head vanishes, and I'm rewarded with him wilting under my glare. I glance at Minnie, wondering just what she sees in this prick, but she quickly turns away. Kane steps forward and tears the bulky sleeves away from his sweater, revealing smooth and unblemished metal up to his shoulders. Creed blinks and stares in wonder. Noak is also staring, but her expression is the same eager excitement from earlier. I might have to talk to Kane when the job is over. He's an expert in damn near any field imaginable, but the subtleties of human emotions always seem to elude him. Kane crouches down in a sprinter stance. He takes off running, his arms open wide as he plows through the trees, touching as many as he can as he charges ahead. Creed frowns again.
Is that it? I thought you were sending Robo-Nerd ahead because he was like the Flash or...
Groaning wood drowns out the rest of Kane's complaint. The first tree Kane touched creaks as branches that have stood for centuries drop toward the ground. They turn gray before they hit and explode in a pile of ash. Creed's mouth drops open as the effect spreads. Trees, leaves, and even the ground take on a sticky gray hue. Following Kane is easy now. We just have to follow the trail of death. When Kane comes in contact with plant-based matter, it erodes and evaporates into nothing. Even the soil is stripped away of all bacteria, leaving the land as barren as the surface of the moon. By unleashing Kane, I've killed what generations of residents have protected for nearly 200 years. Kane is doing his best to keep the damage contained, but this strip of forest will never live again. All because of my order.
Come on!
I shove Creed forward.
We've got to get moving.
We kick through the ash at a rapid clip. The sounds of battle grow louder the farther we go. After a few minutes, we reached our destination. Gus is unconscious on the ground. A bruise the size of an egg is above his eye. His hand is a furious shade of red and swelled twice to its original size. Kane has him by the shoulders and drags him toward us while dozens of drones buzz all around him. They're all shapes and sizes, from the cheap plastic models you get your nephew for his birthday, to the monstrous behemoths favored by neighborhood watchers with too much money and free time. But each model has 2 things in common. Every light on the drone glows with the same blue light. The front of each drone ends with a metal barb. Some are little more than thorns, while others could pass as small swords, but none look pleasant. A drone with a blade like a butcher's knife dives at Kane, but it tumbles to the ground after jabbing him in the shoulder. It's a strange sight to behold, but strange is part of the job description. I snap to attention and raise my gun, and Minnie does the same. Creed is still staring, his eyes darting back and forth, trying to decide on a target.
Fire!
I bellow at the top of my lungs, more to snap Creed into action than anything else. I aim carefully and squeeze off a handful of shots. A couple of bullets go wide, colliding into trees and causing even more damage to the forest. But a few of the smaller drones around Kane's head go up in sparks. Creed breaks from his spell, steps forward, and raises his Uzi. His shots rattle in my ears as the spent cartridges are expelled from Creed's weapon. I don't like the cocky son of a bitch, probably because he's the worst kind of arrogant, the kind that actually does have some skill. Creed is an artist with his Uzi, laying down a steady arc of gunfire while I reload. A woman's scream stabs in my ears and crawls up my spine as I reload, but it's only Noak. She hasn't spent much time at the Foundation's firing range. I'll have to talk to Kane about that too, assuming we all survive long enough. After Creed empties his gun, Minnie steps forward. Her shotgun doesn't have the range as Creed or I, so she bides her time, waiting for Kane to rejoin us on the path. As a cloud of drones draws closer, Minnie squeezes the trigger once, and they all go down, ripped apart by her well-placed pellets. The sound is deafening, the constant gunfire clogging my ears. Kane hoists Gus over his shoulder and retreats, barely slowed by the added weight. Noak chases after them. Minnie, Creed, and I slip into a steady pattern as we walk backward after them. I empty my magazine into the drones, then fall back to reload and let Creed take my place. After he goes dry, Minnie steps up with her shotgun. Trusting Kane to get Gus and Noak to safety, I don't turn around until I feel the sun's rays on my back.
Cadet Carter!
Creed snaps to attention at my voice.
Nice shooting back there.
It's a pain to admit, but the kid did good back there. He helped save Gus's life, despite hating his guts. Hopefully, a little praise will start the long work of softening Creed's rough edges. But the cocky grin on his face still gives me some doubts. Minnie interrupts my thoughts by sucking on her teeth.
Shit!
My hearing returns, only to be barraged by more noise. Beneath the thunderous screams and barks is a constant mechanical buzzing. I didn't get a good look at the number of drones in the forest. There were too many to count, but there had to be dozens, maybe even hundreds. But the ones in the forest are just the tip of the iceberg. There are thousands in the park, swooping down and harassing families trying to take safety in their parked cars. Barks and whines sound in every direction as dogs flee, doing their best to avoid the sharp tips of the machines. I'm glad I left a book at our hotel room. The sight of a woman with blood running down her arms grabs my attention. She cradles a screaming toddler to her chest as she swats at the drones attacking them. They're too close for me to chance a shot, so I charge at her. Minnie and Creed are soon beside me, and the nearest drone shatters into a dozen pieces as Minnie swings her shotgun like a club. She batters the machines aside like a modern-day barbarian. It scatters the drones, making them retreat to the sky. Several well-placed shots from Creed and myself take care of those. Kane sets Gus down, then picks up the woman and child like they weigh no more than a paperclip. She screams, not realizing the danger has passed, but Kane doesn't react or slow down as we fall back. We saved the woman and her child, but our actions have drawn unwanted attention. Countless blue drone eyes turn toward us. I empty my clip and reload.
I'm on my last one. How are you two doing? Not much better.
Creed switches his Uzi from full auto to semi-auto and aims carefully before taking another shot.
Already out,
Minnie says, but she takes a couple more practice swings with her empty gun.
Shit!
We're nowhere even close in dealing with these little bastards. Hopefully, the SC phones are doing the same thing they did for Gus and me, but on a grander scale, by relaying our situation to Director Ramirez so she can authorize some backup. But unless they have some way of getting here in the next few seconds...
I got it!
Noak shouts, jumping up and down until she notices us all staring at her.
Sorry, but I've been fiddling with the SC phone since I got it. There are all kinds of apps that can be used in the field. Geiger counter, spectroscope, X-ray, infrared. Cadet Noak.
Kane's voice is devoid of the annoyance I feel.
Agents prefer concise and prompt information while in the field. Oh, right.
Noak turns her phone screen toward us.
I've discovered a subsonic frequency that the drones use to communicate, and I think I've been able to isolate their attack signal.
We huddle over the phone, but I can't make heads or tails of what Noak is showing us. There are figures, data, and stuff I haven't used since high school. A quick nod from Kane assures me his cadet is on the right track.
Great work, nerd.
Creed empties the last of his magazine into some advancing drones.
I was just thinking the one thing we need right now is more drones that want us dead. Hey, I'm doing my best here. We can't all shoot our way through life. Shut it, both of you.
I snatch Noak's phone from her, glad that's all it takes to silence the two.
Kane, think you can work with this?
Kane nods and takes the phone.
There may be blowback. I'd advise everyone to maintain their distance.
Kane rushes away from us and thumbs the phone while probably attempting to amplify the signal. The blue eyes of several passing drones flash, then spin away from the dogs they were harassing to chase Kane. One makes contact with his skin, then bounces off and crashes to the ground. All over the park, other drones start to copy the others, turning from their prey to attack Kane.
Shit!
Creed squeezes the trigger, but all the Uzi does is click.
You still got some ammo, Hale. Help him.
I shake my head.
It'd be a waste of bullets.
Creed sneers, his disgust palpable, and he turns and raises his Uzi to imitate Minnie's take on melee combat. Noak gasps and brings her hands to her mouth. A large drone with a barb as long as a katana dive bombs Kane. The needle bounces off Kane's head, and a mechanical scream echoes through the park as the drone is cleanly severed down the middle. Two smaller drones go for Kane's legs and attack him with metallic probes the size of sewing needles. They spark and explode as soon as their tiny weapons pierce Kane's baggy sweatpants. The same scene repeats itself hundreds of times. The drones mob Kane, only to be torn apart as soon as they come in contact with his body. His clothes are ripped away, revealing a body more metal than flesh. Kane drops to his knees but endures the unrelenting assault. As the last drone is finally destroyed, Kane topples over in a heap.
Noak!
My words seem loud in the silence washing over the park.
Your background is in biochemical engineering, right? See if you can help Kane.
That's all the invitation she needs to sprint across the park. Creed stares dumbfounded, his mouth hanging open at the pile of drones littered around Kane.
What the hell was all that?
Since Creed is proving to be, well, not less of a dick, but a dick who can follow orders, I answer him.
It's another one of Kane's abilities. He can't be harmed by any outside force. Any attempts to injure him are reflected onto the aggressor. There's a limit to the power, though. It eats up his energy, and he already used a decent chunk in the forest before he saved our collective asses.
Creed shakes his head.
Does that sound like overkill to anyone else?
As if in answer to Creed's question, sirens blare through the air. The sirens are in the distance and moving away from us. Playing on a hunch, I take out my SC phone and tap into the local police feeds.
These things are all over the place. Officer down, officer down. Still trying to get in touch with the National Guard.
I sigh and look at Kane's prone form.
I'm worried it's not going to be enough overkill.
A loud groan pulls my attention away from Kane and to our other downed operative. Gus's hand has swelled further, but his eyes are alert. Just like I taught him, he takes in his surroundings quickly before resting on Kane and the pile of destroyed machines.
Oh, hell.
Gus flinches and cradles his hand to his chest.
What'd I miss?
It's been a long day. The police left us alone since they were busy with the invasion of their small town. That made getting Kane back to the hotel without being noticed easy. However, it took all of us pitching in, since Kane is considerably heavier than he looks due to all the metal in his body. The swelling in Gus's hand went down, thanks to whatever Noak injected him with. but he still wasn't ready for the field. Thankfully, the kid listened to reason, and I didn't have to worry about him playing hero again. After that, Creed, Minnie, and I hunted down the remnants of the local police department. It'll still be hours before the Foundation task forces arrive to contain this mess. This situation is well above the local PD's pay grade. However, the ammo shortage isn't an issue anymore, thanks to the local gun owners. Some of them were actually smiling, as if they've been waiting for a moment like this their entire lives. Unfortunately, another tidbit about the town is making things difficult. They're one of the major manufacturers of aerial drones for the eastern seaboard, and whatever is powering the drones can spread from one model to the next. Thankfully, casualties have been minimal, but I can't help but feel our luck's about to run out. I fill my mug with coffee from the hotel lobby. It's our new command center until backup arrives. Minnie looks as exhausted as me, cradling Book in her arms and petting him behind the ears in a comfortable-looking chair. Creed snores loudly in the chair to her right, but the chair on the left is vacant. I fill her a mug too, then sink into the other chair. My long sigh is involuntary. I've been on my feet since the plane touched down. The chair is just as comfy as it looks. The coffee is perfect, but the tranquility breaks against Creed's tidal wave of a snore.
Okay, I get what you see in the kid. He's good in a fight. But man, we've got to get him an apnea mask.
Minnie makes a small, indistinct noise. I chance a look at her from the corner of my eye, which is more than she's using to look at me. Book whines and buries his face into her stomach. We haven't said a word to each other that wasn't about tactics since I opened my big mouth. I doubt doing the same thing again will improve things, but I don't have any better ideas.
$1 for your thoughts?
She frowns.
Isn't it supposed to be a penny? I value your thoughts 100 times more than most.
Her flicker of a smile gives me some hope.
I've never told you about my dad, have I?
The question is easy to answer with a shake of my head. I trust Minnie more than anyone else, but neither of us have shared much about our families. Our experience with the Foundation makes us uneasy about sharing parts of our lives that make us vulnerable, or that could potentially put our families in jeopardy. My blood still boils when I remember the society threatening my family.
My dad was career military. I have lots of friends who were in the same boat, and they always talked about how distant and cold their parents were. Dad was never like that, though. He was always affectionate and quick to say I love you to me and Mom.
I take another sip of coffee.
Sounds like a hell of a guy.
Minnie's smile is forced and tired.
Doesn't he? Mom and I were heartbroken when he didn't come back from a mission. So, when I turned 18, I enlisted in the Marines, just like him. As I got older, I got curious about my family's genealogy. So I did one of those DNA tests and got a hint for a relative I didn't know about. And then another, and another.
My stomach sinks. I think I know where this story is heading.
Oh.
Minnie's eyes stare down into her cup of black coffee.
I've got over a dozen siblings that I never knew about. Some older, some younger. Some he probably didn't know about. Others he played house with. Just like me and Mom. Saying I love you was easy for my dad because lying was easy for him. And when you said that to me, I know it was just an innocent comment. One of your quips because you read too many Spider-Man comics as a kid. But to me...
I reach over and take Minnie's hand in my own. She flinches at my touch but doesn't pull away.
2 things you got wrong. 1, I still read Spider-Man. And 2, yeah, I've got terrible timing. But that doesn't make what I said any less true. I love you, Min.
It's been a long time since I've said those words to anyone. I've been a wrecking ball most of my life, demolishing someone's life to shambles before moving on to the next story. Don't get me wrong, the people I investigated all had it coming. Mobsters, crooked politicians, corrupt police. but they're also the type of enemies that make it hard to develop a serious relationship. It's hard to invite someone into your life if it means putting them in the crosshairs. I never have to worry about that with Minnie, who I know will always be right beside me in the trenches.
Good,
She grips my hand tight.
because I love you too.
I know the importance of this moment. Minnie's a modern-day warrior in every sense of the word, but she's laying herself bare to me. We lean in close, heat building between our lips as they graze against each other.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
The high-pitched voice can't belong to anyone but Noak. I grumble and lean back, allowing Minnie and me enough room to look up. Gus and Noak are standing at the door, each holding a tablet. Noak's skin has paled enough to make her look like a ghost, while Gus smirks knowingly.
How's Kane?
I ask to distract them, glad that Minnie is still holding my hand.
Still down and recharging,
Noak says.
but I've completed an autopsy on the drone. Autopsy?
I exchange an equally confused glance with Minnie.
Don't you mean well, I guess I don't know the word. Wait, do we do autopsies on machines too? Not usually,
Noak shakes her head.
but a number of its inner workings mimic the function of biological organs. The needles from their mouth inject an acidic compound into their prey. It dissolves them. Then, the drones ingest the biological slush left over. This powers their circuitry, and I think it also plays a part in transmitting the virus into other drones. Wait, back up.
Gus looks down at his bandaged hand.
Please tell me I'm not minutes away from turning into a slushy for robots. They're drones, not... Noak! Oh, sorry.
Noak blushes and clears her throat.
No, you should be fine, Cadet Huff. I administered countermeasures, and they appear to be working effectively. Next time, open with that.
Gus frowns and hands me his tablet.
That case we worked together last month gave me some ideas. I dug into the history of the local drone plant. It's a private business that went public last year. The board of directors voted out the company's founder shortly after that. Oh, and the real kicker? His dog got ran over a few weeks back, coinciding with his family moving him to an old folks' home. Damn, Gus.
I beam at him and pick up the tablet.
Means, motive, and opportunity. Good work.
Noak squirms and weeds her tablet between her fingers.
Cadet Noak, go ahead and speak your mind. Well, not to diminish Cadet Huff's finding, but I don't think he can be behind this. Or not entirely. As I said, there are biological components at work in these machines. I don't think anyone with a purely mechanical background could pull this off. That's not all I found.
Gus smiles.
I hacked into the retirement community. Wait.
I hold up a hand, confused once more. Gus has proven he's a real asset in the field. He's got the making of a real investigator and combat skills to throw down with the likes of Creed. But I've never seen him operate anything more complicated than a coffee pot.
Hacking? You can do that? The SC phone can.
Gus shrugs.
It's one of the apps included with the phone. I'm blocked from most of its functions, but it had no problems shredding through the firewalls of a private company.
Of course it didn't. The Foundation keeps the lights on by routinely invading other people's privacy.
I take it you found something in their files? Yeah.
Gus awkwardly clears his throat.
I found someone you might recognize.
It's not like Gus to play coy. Frowning, I swipe to the second page of his tablet. Gus has downloaded a list of names of all the residents and highlighted one. I can feel my eyes widen as I take in the name.
Holy shit!
I contacted Director Ramirez and gave her Gus and Noak's findings. It'll still be another hour before the Foundation has boots on the ground, so we're on our own until then. Luckily, with a location to scout out, suspects, and a few more ammo donations, I think we can handle it. Famous last words, I know, but I don't know if the town can last another hour. We pull up to the retirement community in a tricked-out Foundation SUV. The air around the retirement center is thick with drones, and they converge on our SUV as soon as Minnie pulls into the parking lot. Blades flash through our headlights. but thankfully, they bounce off the bulletproof glass. Glancing at the rearview mirror, I see Creed pump his fist.
Yes! We get to fling some grenades!
I sigh. This isn't a video game, Carter. Gus frowns. You commandeered a tank the day we met.
That was completely different.
Wait! Noak pushes herself toward the front, probably to get as far away from Creed and his grenade lust as possible, then taps on the windshield.
Look!
The blue lights on the drones flicker and then go out like someone flipped a switch. They bounce off the trunk and hood, clattering like thunder around us as they drop. I count silently, starting over every time I hear a new thud until I get to 30, then step outside. My legs are knee-deep in deactivated drones, and I nudge them with my feet. No reaction.
Looks like the coast is clear. Really?
Creed's excitement diminishes as he steps out of the SUV, his Uzi once more reloaded and held at the ready.
That's pretty anticlimactic.
Part of me wants to rebuke Creed. Too many of my experiences with the Foundation have ended in bloodshed and destruction. I'll take a win wherever I can get one, but I'm pretty sure I know what happened. Even still, I unholster my gun and keep it close. Minnie and Creed shoulder their weapons, then take point with me. Gus's gun hand is still bandaged with gauze, but he huddles close behind us. Noak seems content hovering near the van, examining the fallen machines, so I leave her to her business. The lobby of the retirement community is empty. The residents and faculty evacuated to the basement, hoping to ride it out. It makes the sounds of a scuffle even louder. The four of us follow the noise to a nearby rec room. Two older men are playing tug-of-war with a tablet. One is older than the other by at least 20 years, but the younger one is struggling, his limp and discarded cane putting him at a disadvantage. If this were a movie, I would fire a shot off in the air to get their attention, but I can't do that without risking hitting someone's grandma. Instead, I holster my gun and let the slap fight continue for a few more seconds, then loudly clear my throat.
Gentlemen,
The two men freeze in place.
my parents taught me to respect my elders, so I'm not going to hurt either of you.
I hover near Creed and rest a hand on his shoulder.
But this younger generation has no respect.
Creed is barely out of his 20s, but he's tall, muscular, and mean-looking. He stares dumbfounded at me for a brief moment, but then catches on. He thumbs a button on his Uzi and activates its laser sight. The red dot hovers on one man's forehead, then the other. They reach for the sky, the tablet shattering at their feet. Things go pretty smoothly after that. We keep the two men in custody until our reinforcements arrive. It's going to take a lot of work to cover this one up, but it won't be too long before everything goes back to normal. People always find the simplest explanation as the easiest to swallow. The town will never forget the day a retiree unleashed a horde of drones as vengeance for turning their back on him. In a few months, the talk of the strange blue eyes and weapons on the drones will be seen as an exaggeration brought on by the stress of a very strange day. As the company's founder is headed off into Foundation custody, I linger with the other resident and lead him back to his room. While he's not young, he's at least 10 years younger than anyone else staying here. He limps after me, leaning on his cane, and follows me inside. The room has few decorations, especially compared to the others we passed, except for the shelves. Each is lined with tiny carrying cages, nestled between mountains of biology books and yellowed paperbacks. I walk over to the electric kettle in the corner, fire it up, and prepare 2 mugs for tea. While I wait for the water to boil, I take a closer look at the cages. Each of them houses at least 2 snails. Going for a theme, huh, Johnny? He flinches. He's so much different from the last time I saw him. His face is still weathered with age and hard times. His shoulders still slumped with the weight of the world, but he's more timid, almost scared, as he hobbles to a nearby table and sits down.
They're always in the garden. The snails, I mean. And I don't know why, but There's something familiar and comfortable about them.
Steam whistles through the kettle and kicks off automatically. I fill the 2 mugs, glance around, and try to find cream or sugar. But remember, he always drank it straight. I set down the mugs and take a seat across from him and wait for him to speak.
Early onset Alzheimer's. That's what they say I have. Only
I blow on the scalding tea.
it doesn't match what you know about the disease. You don't have random patches of memories missing, and you don't drift in and out of lucidity. One day, you're 11 years old and getting ready for school. The next day, you wake up and you're 60. 61.
He corrects me with a nervous smile.
Or, so they tell me. 50 years of my life gone forever. My uncles have been dead for decades and I don't know who I was. But when I came across Melvin's experiment, I felt something familiar again. A way to improve on his designs. They don't expect people here to know how to work computers, so it was easy to access the dark web and order what I needed. But you have to believe me. I didn't know what he was planning. I was just trying to find out who the hell I am. I didn't know what he was planning today, and then I found out. You tried to stop him.
I smile and lean back.
Because even without your memories, you're still you. You'll always try to do what you think is right.
He blinks and then stares at me, his expression falling as he searches his memories and finds nothing.
You knew me.
I nod once and reach for my phone. I did. I have something to show you. A twitch of guilt stabs at my heart as I activate the app Ramirez authorized. Johnny hesitates, his hands trembling as he reaches for the phone. Images flash across the screen. His eyes start to flutter, and I wonder again if I'm doing the right thing. Maybe it would be kinder to leave him here, ignorant of the things he's done. But he deserves better than that. And clearly, we can't leave him out in the wild anymore. He grunts and drops his phone, hands flying to the side of his head. He looks like the mother of all hangovers just forced itself between his ears without a drink. His expression hardens, but his eyes flicker with recognition.
Hale? Director Griffith, welcome back to the Foundation.
SCP-160 appears to be a quadriflyer, unmanned aerial vehicle with a diameter of approximately 1.1 meters at its widest point. It is devoid of any identifying marks or manufacturing labels, though visual inspection of SCP-160 has revealed signs of scratches and other superficial damage, indicating that prior identifying labels may have been removed. SCP-160 operates continuously and completely autonomous from any identified control source, and exhibits behavior similar to that of predatory birds. It will actively hunt prey such as rodents and other small animals and, upon locating such prey, dive down at high speed and impale its prey with what appears to be a metallic proboscis. Analysis of its prey shows that it then injects a highly caustic substance that liquefies the internal organs and extracts the resulting slurry. Injuries inflicted by SCP-160 are extremely painful and may cause death via liquefaction of vital organs or internal bleeding. The intact drone that was recovered no longer exhibits the ability to take over other drones, nor can it be controlled by a remote device as indicated by agents who contained it. Possible interference by a competing organization is suspected, most likely the Society for Liberation, Dissemination, and Destruction. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more SCP stories like this one. You can also check out some more episodes from the SCP Experience podcast here. I'll see you in the next one.